just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. Before we get into it, July 22nd. So that is not next Monday, but the Monday after at 6 p.m, brand new bloke drop. We got the green and gold themed bloke drop. We got the spray jackets, first ever spray jackets. We got the hoodies and the shirts, plus the hats are making a return. So set your alarm, 6 p.m, July 22nd. Next Monday. Also, just a little sneak peek, early September, something big is coming, something that I've worked on we've worked on for a very long time. So just keep an eye open for that as we get closer to the date. But before we get into all of it, the great Roo, mate. How you going, brother?
Going well, mate. Unbelievable weekend of footy. Normally this bye round period can be a bit tough, but that was sensational over the weekend.
Probably the best round of footy of the year, overall.
Very close to it. I reckon it's the best round of bye round footy I've ever seen.
It was unbelievable footy. Timmy?
Yeah, Rushall took the word straight out of my mouth. I'm buzzing after that weekend of footy. This period of the year, we do get some bludgers of games and rounds with injuries, origin restings, limited games, all that sort of stuff. But it was just a cracking weekend of footy, full allotment of games with the 8, and Super Saturday in particular lived up to the name.
So good. Hammy, mate, fresh from Japan.
Konnichiwa, boys.
Yeah.
Happy financial new year. Good to see all of you. Good to see Timmy and Rue got their tax returns in nice and early. Got the fresh haircuts over there. How are we? Did you miss me?
Oh, mate, absolutely. How was Japan, mate?
Very good. You got to get over there. Probably not as much rugby league coverage as I would have liked, as we discussed in the green room, but sometimes that's okay, just to get away from things for a little while. But
sometimes you got to miss something. Know how much it means to you.
That's right. Let me miss you, and I did, and I came straight back to Laika, which was great. But great place, so much good, food, sport. I've got a new team. I've got the Hiroshima Toyo Carp. They're my boys in the baseball at the moment. Unfortunately, went down in a 11th inning nail biter when I saw them, but they're still going well in the Central Conference over there in the Japanese baseball. So look, it was great. I had a great time.
And I'm sure there's plenty of fans that watch this podcast, so they're probably cheering right now.
Absolutely. Let's go Carp.
How
are you?
Right. Hey?
How are you?
Mate, I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm very good, thanks. I appreciate it. Great weekend of footy. I tell you what, because sometimes when I watch the footy, I'll have something else just on the side there. This weekend of footy shows you how good it is that the amount of times I was like, full screen, watching the game. Whereas like some games where it's a blowout, you're just like, all right, sweet. I'll listen. I'll have the audio of this on and I'll watch the footy, whereas the amount of games this week where I was like audio on, and look, sometimes commentators can get a little bit much for me, so I have to turn the commentators off. But this time, was not the case. Great weekend of rugby league. Let's get straight into it, boys. Don't forget, give SC Playbook a follow, Rugby League Guru a follow, and the great Hammy a follow on Instagram. Unfollow Matty if you're following him, and give them subscribe to their podcasts. All their podcasts, obviously the same name as their Instagram. Let's get into it. Origin has dropped. I tell you what, there's some big changes, a lot to talk about, but the thing to remember is we are still Queenslanders, Hammy. That's the thing to remember.
Yep.
Okay? Okay, this is...
Well said.
Yeah, thank you. You get it. So you get it.
Yeah.
Being not really a Queenslander, but a kind of Queenslander, you get it.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Don't
Makes
overthink
sense.
it.
Yeah. That's
Not
the goal.
really. He's not a Queenslander.
No,
He's
that's
from Canberra.
that's what I literally just said, though. I said you're not really.
He's
a
not
Queenslander.
really. He's not a Queenslander.
Yeah,
It's
but
bullshit.
okay, that's okay. You can try and throw stones from outside the glory that is being a Queenslander.
Let's not get bogged down in facts here, people.
Guru knows half the team. Half the team's not even from Queensland, so...
Oh, my God.
This one irks me more than the average.
Yeah, okay.
This one
Okay,
shits
you've never heard of getting citizenships while living somewhere so long or being passionate about something for so long?
Yeah.
He's got a citizenship from being passionate about Queensland for so long, and it's been approved by Cameron Smith.
Thank you.
So, there you
Queensland's literally the only place he hasn't lived. It's ridiculous.
like, my son was literally born in New South Wales, and he's a Queenslander. So
He's a New South Welshman.
and that
Proud
was
New South
also
Welshman.
blessed by Cameron Smith.
He'll also have the opportunity when he starts speaking to say that he's a diehard New South Welshman, but that time has not come yet. So Little Rain will. I'm going to await that time, Kempy, and let him make his mind up for himself.
Yeah, we will, mate. We will.
Because Amelia bleeds blue.
No, she's from Canberra.
So's he.
Yeah, but she doesn't even know what friggin' Origin is. She doesn't know what's going on.
She bleeds blue.
Her parents bleed green. Massive Raiders fans.
Yeah.
Massive Raiders fans. They rocked up in a Raiders polo on the weekend.
Do they go for the Blues?
I'd say so, but more Raiders fans.
That's right. I can
Raiders. They they go to the fan days and stuff.
Yeah.
Massive Raiders fans. So anyway, let's get into it. This Origin review is brought to you by Sportsbet. Try July, guys. If any footy players listen to us, look, there were a few that were great, but come on, get around it. Try July.
Yeah, let's look to sort of Ryan Pappenhausen. He involved another teammate, bit of a stonecutters handshake followed by a
reach around handshake.
Exactly.
What he reached around his leg, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
One way to put it. But let's get a few more.
It's
of those.
officially called the reach around.
Loving any celebrations are good, but give us something a little bit more. If you involve other teammates, that score's a little bit higher. And in the past, if we've seen them come out in Origin, we've even donated a little bit more than the $5,000 that we normally go.
$5,000 per try celebration, and it goes to.
It goes to Tony Hunt and the Australian Skin Cancer Foundation. So some great causes there. 55K raised so far. Let's keep them coming.
Let's keep them coming. All right, this is review brought to you by Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed as well. It's going strong. Not my tips though. Not going strong. Holy, my punting has been terrible lately. At fullback, Reece Walsh. At 2, Selwyn Cobbo. 3, Dan Gagai. 4, Hamiso. Excuse me. 5, Valentine Holmes. 6, Tommy Dearden. 7, DCE. 8, Ruben Cotter. 9, Benny Hunt. 10, Lindsay Collins. 11, Kurt Catewell. At 12, Jeremiah Nanai. 13, Patrick Carrigan. 14, Harry Grant. 15, Fodawaker. 16, Kafusi. 17, Kalen Ponga. 18, this is also a big, kind of got lost in the noise a little bit. Trent Leoro as the 18th man. So he will kit up. If anything happens on game day, he may make his debut. We know how you New South Welshman play. Brendan Piacora. Brendan Piacora at 19. At 20, Reid Marnie. I'm sure New South Wales fans will take that as a joke, as it was meant it, not something serious. Okay, boys. My first thoughts, very surprised Curdy Catewell brought into the starting side. Very surprised Dave Fafita is not there. Love Kalen Ponga on the bench, although to suggest it's like a sure thing, he's just going to come on and kill it, I think you're getting a bit ahead of yourself. It is still a risk. I'm surprised about Kurt Catewell and obviously surprised about Fafita and Trent Leoro to a degree. Like I really like the idea of bringing him into the squad, but 18th man, that's a huge ask for the young fella, but good on him. I will say, if you ever questioned Billy Slater's commitment to the standards that he kind of sets before game one, they have been tested to the utmost limit, in my opinion, because Kurt Catewell, I think we can all agree, although like form-wise, it's not like he's the best backer on the comp, but when it comes to like checking all the boxes of like never saying die, never giving up, like we all agree that's who Catewell is. Like that's the kind of player he is. Whereas Fafita is, he has that in him, but he also does all the crazy stuff. So he gets brought in. It really does emphasise the fact that no, Billy Slater's living and dying on this hill of like, this is who I believe should wear the Queensland jersey this year. Thoughts on the selection?
Yeah, I personally wouldn't have picked Catewell, but I mean, mate, what we just said is exactly right, and I think it's a big game for the career of Billy Slater. Obviously, it's a big game, but I think like when you look at, like, you know what the narrative's going to be if they lose. Why didn't you pick Fafita? You've lent too heavily into your bullshit. You should have picked him. Whereas if he wins, like, not that it needs to go up any further, but the value of a Queensland jersey just skyrockets because all these guys know, hey, you need to hit these values, you need to hit these standards. I think both coaches have done a really good job this year picking the team that they want instead of the team that the media suggests or that people want. And I respect both of them. Mate, KP at 17... it scares the shit out of me. It's going to keep me awake at night. The way that he was moving yesterday, that's in game one back off an injury like that. We've seen him come off the bench for Queensland before when he was a little bit younger. He's such a better player now, and it's the thing that worries me so much about this Queensland side is you've got KP, Gagai, 2 guys that were left out last year, 2 guys coming into a side with a point to prove, playing great footy. It's terrifying.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Squad in general?
The Catewell selection. And Fafita.
I'm gobsmacked. I can't believe they didn't pick him. I'm smiling from ear to ear as a Blues supporter that they didn't. I don't get it. I really don't. Like, I thought it was just the perfect opportunity to do it. And I like, obviously a very passionate Blues fan, and I look at Billy Slater. And even through their era of dominance where, even if you love Queensland players at club level, you'd be like, I hate Cameron Smith at Origin level or Greg Inglis. But I have never been able to not like Billy Slater. I've just respected him so much. Even when he got like dirty on the field, and then I'm like, oh, he just wants to win and all that. I like just asking the question, but is there, is he too proud in not picking Dave Feeder? Like, I really do respect, as Guru said, him sticking to his guns and being like, I haven't picked him for a reason. And he'd have those reasons, whether it's on field, off field, I don't really know. But he, in my eyes, is so clearly the best edge back rower who, let's not forget, played in the series last year and I thought was really effective. And, you can sit here and critique a few effort areas in defence and coverage and doing the 1%ers in the game. But I think he's a little bit unfairly maligned when it comes to that, particularly in attack. Like, I think the last 2 seasons, he's been doing a lot of the hard work, taking a lot of really tough carries out of his own end, got a lot of the flair out of his game, which we've seen at times, and particularly Origin last year. I can't believe they didn't pick him for Kurt Capel, who struggles to start for the Warriors.
Yeah, I'm of the similar mind to you of, not the pride bit, I just think it's so ingrained in this Storm system.
Yeah.
Like Bellamy, like we just spoke about earlier in the green room, about Howarth, for example. And we all watched him and go, why isn't this bloke being selected? Like, even when he goes out and plays, we're like, he plays well, there's no issues there. And yet Bellamy is like, just, until he meets these certain standards all the way around in his game, he's not going to be playing. And I think it's just ingrained in it. Billy, Cam Smith, all those Storm boys that had so much success for so long, that's all they know. So I don't think it's a pride thing. I think it's fully, that's just what he knows. Like, that's what he sees. What he understands to be a winning formula is exactly that. But I do agree with, like, I try to watch Fafita's games. And, of course, like, does he have the same kind of coverage and do all the stuff that Kurt Capewell does in regards to, like, the little 1%ers? No, he doesn't. But is he terrible at it? No, I don't think so either.
Even keeping on Kurt Capewell, we were having conversations roughly this time last year when he was on the edge for the Broncos saying, he was missing a lot of tackles defensively, letting tries in line breaks through. And we were saying, is it time for Kurt Capewell to make sort of that more full-time role as a middle forward? And then Dave Fafita doesn't get picked ahead of him? Like, it's like, as I said, I think in the 1%ers players, Kurt Capewell is better in that area. But that doesn't mean that I think Fafita's terrible in it. Because I watch Fafita's games, and I'm not sitting there going, oh, he's terrible at it. I don't. So there must be something that he is seeing that I'm not seeing.
Hasn't Slater just, like, he's completely fucked Titans games for me now? Because now I'm looking for it constantly, and I can't see it.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm not seeing it either.
Yeah.
Like, people say, defensive issues here, lazy here. I'm like, maybe from time to time, but for what he offers in attack, it's not that bad, is it?
Compared to the guys that he is picking in this side, and obviously,
like, if the guy's a 10 out of 10 that he's picking in this side, I'd have Fafita at like a 7 or 8 out of 10 in that area.
If you want to have a crack at an edge defender for defensive issues, watch Jeremiah Nanai for the last 2 years. He misses tackles all the time, and it's not a massive knock on Nanai. It just makes it more bewildering that Fafita didn't get picked for me.
That's right. As you said, like, if these players are a 10 out of 10, like, these blokes are 7, 8 at best for me this year.
Yeah.
It's hard to work out.
So I would have had Fafita in there, but he must just be seeing things. We have to also remember, and it's the same with the Blues squad and every squad really, is there's so much that goes on that the public just never know about. And I'm not suggesting that something bad's happened. What I'm saying is like, these guys, they view so much footage that we don't see because they've got different access to footage. But also, they speak to trainers, they speak to coaches, they spend all week in camp with them. So, yeah, I'm surprised. I would have gone for Fafita. I will say, though, yes, if Queensland lose, there will be, you should have picked Fafita. But in game 1 and 2, it hasn't been them scoring points that's been the issue. So I think that maybe in game 3, it might get to a point where they are struggling to score points and they needed his X factor. But if that isn't, let's say they lose 20-16 or something like that in game 3, then to say that, it's because Fafita wasn't on the field, I don't know about that. Look, unless Capewell comes out and has like an absolute Barry Crocker.
And points are, it can be like, if they come out and score 1 or 2 tries and lose, you'll be going, why didn't you pick Fafita? If they score tries and look good in attack, which the Maroons, like they've got Reece Walsh and Caleb Ponga in their team, they'll look good in attack. Yeah. That's where the concern will be.
So it really just, like, if they come out, look great in attack, and they still lose, then to suggest that there was because of Fafita was inside, it's like, I don't really know about that. So, yeah, look, I would have gone for Fafita, but Tell you what, we always get angry at like Origin coaches of like, why haven't you, you had this certain opinion on a certain player before game one, and then things go wrong, and then you change your opinion, you're chopping and changing. We always have cracks at Origin coaches for that. Like we talked about, one thing with Fittler towards like the back end of his Origin coaching career is like he wasn't giving players chances, and they needed more than one game. So, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's either one or the other. It's either people get one shot in an Origin series, or you get one or two shots, or So we'll see what happens. I tell you what, it's the page has been set up for a typical Queensland guy that comes in, and everyone's sitting there going, "Why did this bloke get selected?" Even during the 8 in a row period, there were so many players that got brought into that squad where everyone's like, what the hell? This guy's terrible at club right now.
Kurt Capewell's about to come out and have his best game since 2020.
It's
he is. We know it.
That's what the usual kind of Queensland narrative is. So we'll see what happens. As I said, I personally would have gone for Fitter. I think we all gone for Fitter?
I think so. Yep.
But he, as I said, he must be seeing way more than us. We'll review it after the game. If there's some punch on that edge they could have used, obviously we'll say, damn, they should have used a Fitter. If Capewell comes out and he makes 3 try-saving tackles, we'll go, holy shit, it was a masterstroke. I will say, from a perspective of needing to score points, I don't think they need any more X Factor. That's not one thing this squad is lacking right now, is X Factor. Okay, in regards to Dan Gagai coming in, love that. He's been playing so well at club. His battle against Bradman Best is going to be very interesting if Bradman Best plays. We'll speak about that. I like Valentine's Holmes on the edge. I just think that enough opportunity has been given to him to sort out his defence in centre, and it just hasn't seemed to work this year. Now, I do think that this suggests that if Talangi wasn't injured, Holmes probably gets dropped. Because I think it'd be pretty rough on Talangi to get dropped when he's usually pretty good in Origin Arena. Do you think that that's the case?
100%.
Yeah. So it's mixture. It's like I like him back on the wing because he has less decisions to make in defence, and also I want to see him kick returning. At the same time, it's a little kick up the butt going, mate, you were this close to being gone.
Yeah, and I think that if Murray Talangi was available, Val Holmes gets dropped, but mate, there is every chance that Val Holmes to the wing is going to be a better play than having Murray Talangi there. Because mate, his kick returns have been second to none this year. Not those kick returns, just his early tackle runs that he's been taking for the Cowboys. Like, he's had errors in him this year, but they're normally on strike plays. Him coming over his own end, he's been tremendous this year, Val.
There's one part of his game that's been like the best part of his game. It's been his carries over his own end this year.
For sure. Would you got Val and Selwyn Cobbo there. One thing I noticed yesterday in that Roosters-Dragons game is that I think having Daniel Tupou, a specialist in the air, Dragons didn't really go to Lomax all that much. Do you give one of these? Do you maybe put Selwyn Cobbo over there to its Mark Lomax? What do you reckon?
Oh, I mean, Selwyn hasn't played wing that much, so I wouldn't necessarily consider him a specialist in the air. I haven't really seen him,
but just bigger in the air.
Yeah.
And I am the number one person to say I hate when people have conversations about aerial targets because it never happens. But I think Lomax, I think you have to take it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, he scored 2 tries in 2 games from kicks. I guess the argument would be like, even with Coates on him, he still scored it. So why weaken one side when he's going to score it anyway, to a degree? Like, for example, why put a person out of position, as in on the side that you didn't want to, just to defend those kicks if he's going to score them anyway, to a degree?
Yeah,
and I think if Lomax is out jumping Coates, I think it's
matter.
I don't think it's going to matter that much. Geez, you look at that back line and you go, if they all come out and rip and play to their ability, they will be the X factor across that back line is actually fucking insane. Insane.
Especially on a fast track like Suncorp.
A fast track. Every single one of them can be a man of the match superstar kind of a performance with a crazy match winning try. Val to the wing, I like that. Selwyn on the other wing, I like that. There were some people calling for Cam Pereira. I don't know if he's ready for Origin yet. I don't know.
Really?
I saw
people were calling for it.
Yeah, did you see it as well, Drew?
I think it's bizarre though.
I don't think he's probably ready for Origin just yet. So I like Val Holmes on the edge.
The biggest thing about it, like we spoke about it in the lead up to game 2, and probably game one for that matter, but it was just the yardage coming out of the end and the clear advantage that the Blues had in their back three compared to the Maroons' back three. But between Cobbo and Val Holmes there now, you've got a lot of meters coming out of your end.
And Gagai as well.
And Gagai. So that'll bridge that gap a fair bit. It's the back five in general, and particularly the centres and wingers, it could really go one of two ways because I look at it and I look at this entire team and I throw the edge back rollers into it as well and I see vulnerabilities defensively and I look at Gagai, who's been quite solid defensively but has his moments. Hammer hasn't played in a couple of games and had that shoulder injury. He's probably 100% good to go, but didn't play for the Dolphins, had the bye as well. So he's been out for a bit and looked very sore after Origin 2. Cobbo, we know he's got defensive issues on the edge. Val Holmes, moving from centre to wing, that he hasn't played in a few years, who defensively has been poor this season. So them boys at their best, that is a lethal backline, but a lot of opportunities for the Blues.
I don't think it's going to be a middle ground, to be honest. I see this. They either come out and they just are they've got way too much X factor for the Blues. And defensively they might make some reads here or there, but the fact that they're breaking the line constantly and making the Blues always retreat, or it's the other way around where, Val comes screaming in, try. Selwyn comes screaming in, try.
And that's it. We speak about time and time again, but just chopping and changing combinations. And I know a few of these boys have played together before, but certainly this year we're looking at some very new edges and we'll see how it plays out.
What do you reckon, Hammy?
Dane Gagai, I'm very excited about. I mean, he's had a bit of a history of not playing his best probably at club level and then going to Origin and killing it. But this year he's probably had his best year in club footy in ages. So I reckon he's as good as he's ever been, ready to go. He'll be an absolute handful. I think it balances out I like him at centre more than I like Holmes there as well. You've covered off on that. But I think that kind of just, kind of galvanises the defensive kind of side of things there in the centre.
Lockie galvanise,
exactly. Good to see a bit of a Tigers influence coming into the squad from Billy. But I do wonder whether Gagai, regardless of injuries, if he was maybe a chance to come in anyway, supposing that Latrell Mitchell was going to be fully fit to try and, lock him down a little bit. I think, I'm just happy with Gagai in there, and I think it's a pretty well balanced out backline. You're right though. There's still going to be some opportunities there for the Blues, but plenty of firepower in that backline for sure.
Isn't it great with Dane Gagai? He's either going to be marking Bradman Best, his teammate at Clubland, or Matt Burton. I'm pretty sure the last time these two played, they punched on in Origin, didn't they?
True.
I have so much confidence in Gagai coming in and doing a good job in this one.
I think he's almost been. When I watch him anyway, and maybe I'm projecting, but ever since he's got dropped, I feel like every performance is like to get back into the Queensland side. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me thinking that, but I feel like he's constantly playing to get back into that Queensland side. So cannot wait for that.
I'll tell you what, I already have Dane Gagai. Like, I think I've said it before, solely on Origin performances, I'd go very close. I think he would be in your best 17 ever if you look at solely Origin performances.
Like just their form, take away their names and what
take
they
away
do
names and what they've done outside. Just look at Origin games. I don't know how like you look at guys like Wendell Saylor, who you'd say is a better player, but mate, what Dane Gagai's done in Origin, he shits into that team for me.
Yeah.
And if he comes in,
won 2 man of the series.
2 man. Mate, he hasn't played a bad game.
Just one.
Like, he hasn't played a bad game. He's been incredible every single time he's played for Queensland. If he comes back after being left out in a decider at Suncorp and has a big game, it's going to elevate him to a new level.
Yeah. I tell you what, it's a very Billy Slater side in regards to X Factor. Like that. This is genuinely every single one of those guys in that back line, game breakers, absolute game breakers. The question will be is obviously the defence. Will they sort their defensive systems out quickly? Will they make their tackles? Reece Welsh at the back there, I've got to admit, heading into before his game against the Panthers, I was of the mind if he was really quiet and looked dusty and just didn't look like he was fully ready to be back, and Kalen Ponga ripped, I probably reckon Kalen Ponga would have jumped him. But I think the fact that he came back and absolutely tore it apart against the best team in the competition, essentially, locks him into that one jersey.
I disagree personally. I reckon it was his jersey regardless, and I'm confident he comes out and does a job for him.
Timmy?
That try on the weekend was scintillating.
So fucking unbelievable.
God, he's good to watch play.
Yeah. I just think looking at game one and how out of it he looked with that coming back from the head knock, I think that was still, unless he came back to clear up that he is ready to go and good again, I think there's a chance that KP could have got that.
I reckon he would have had to have an absolute Barry to get dropped. I reckon I'm with Rue. I think it was his jersey and I don't think he was losing it.
Yep. Alrighty, Dearden at 6, DC at 7, Cotter, yeah, all normal. Curdy Capewell, spoke about him. I thought Nanai, outside of an error or two at the end, they weren't errors that he could, a drop ball off a kick-off and a penalty where he accidentally hits a ball. Like, they aren't errors like bringing your ball out of your own end or doing a dumb offload or whatever. Outside of that, he was phenomenal on the weekend.
I had him in my team of the week.
Yeah,
I thought it was terrific. As you said, you alluded to the error, the penalty there, the important ones in the game, but he just looked absolutely lethal, ball in hand. He always does, but even better on the weekend.
He was playing with so much more energy on the weekend, like as if he had a point to prove. I did feel like a lot of the Queenslanders were playing with a point to prove at Clubland, because that is a very big message that Billy does send to the players, is like, you need to go back and rip for your club. Outside of that, Lindsay Collins, he was incredible. Kafusi keeps his spot at 16. I don't mind it. I could have, if you had have brought, let's say, Fafita into start, then Sewer goes to 16. But I don't mind Kafusi at 16 because he can play edge and the middle. And he's never going to let you down, at least defensively. And I think, as we've already discussed, we've got so much X factor in attack. The only, concern would be it's a pretty small bench outside of Fodawaker. If the Blues are getting a roll on, it might be pretty tough to stop that roll on. But I think Kafusi defensively will, he's as good as any defender in regards to chopping blokes down and stopping roll-ons. So I
probably would have started him over Capewell, to be honest.
I would have started Kafusi over Capewell.
Yeah, I think particularly that first 20 minutes, just to sort of subdue that onslaught that we saw from the Blues in game one. Who better on the edge to do it than, granted he's moved to a bit of a middle role with the Dolphins, but I don't really think age or anything has to do with that. I think that's just the emergence of guys like Ewan Aitken, Connelly Lemuelu, and a few really, really good edge back rows for the Dolphins has forced that, and they've sort of, with injuries to their middles, he's moved into that role. But yeah, I mean, even looking at it, I wouldn't be shocked to see potentially Felice Kafusi start come game night. I know Billy hasn't been choppy and changing things too much, but I thought for particularly that first 20, start him, and then if you want, you can move him into the middle and bring Capewell on the edge.
Do we think Capewell playing, I think he played 84 minutes on the weekend, a pretty high click for the Warriors? I think that might have edged him into a starting spot? Because he hasn't really played that much footy.
Yeah, maybe. I actually thought Capewell was really good on the weekend as well. He took some tough carries and made some plays. When everyone was gassed and everyone was out of it, Capewell always comes up with those plays. Look, interesting. But yeah, I don't mind Kafusi there. I know people are looking at the size of the bench, but I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Sewer drops out from the side. Look, I think he just had too many errors, I think, in the first game. In the second game, he started off really well first game, but he had 2 drop balls. And then in the second game, he had at least 1, if I recall. And I think that's probably just what cost him.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised to not see him get picked. Once again, I thought Fafita was a sniff to come in, but I can understand why they've left Sewer out.
Trent Lioro at 18. That's a big call. Decider. Anything happens, foul play, he comes in. Massive congratulations to him, because I know the Storm fans seem to be very I feel like they don't appreciate him as much as they should. I know he has some errors and his ball playing isn't the best at times, but I feel like Trent Lioro always rips and tears for the Storm. I think this year, last year, I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan in the world of him. I couldn't really see it, but I think this year he's done really well. Yeah, he's had a game here or there that's not been the best, but it's never from lack of trying.
Yeah. Congratulations to him, as you said, first start. What an incredible achievement to be a part of this Origin, game day squad as it stands. And I mean, I was surprised, but yeah, look, in terms of the bench they've picked and gone with a smaller bench to have another middle forward who can cover edge, makes sense in terms of versatility in the pack. So don't mind it there. I'll tell you what, the squad that came out last night that was 1 to 17 spot on, and it had Reid Marnie at 18th man. I was going to come in here and rip and tear into that, because I'm like, because I remember last year when they picked Tommy Deard in there, when they had halves flush through their squad. Yep. I was like, why is Reid Marnie 18th man when you've got Ben Hahn and Harry Grant there?
And Cotter at a sniff could play.
And Cotter who can cover it as well. But it was the one thing that was wrong with that squad that came out last night.
Yeah. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I mean, congrats to Liero. He was in the squad for the last game as well. Yep. So, good reward. Obviously, Billy likes what he sees there with Liero. Good to see Reid Marnie in the squad as well. A little bit of mongrel, a little bit of dog in the team, which is good. He's been niggling blokes for the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, can't complain too much of that. Liero gives them, I think you're right, probably good to see that they didn't go Marnie or someone where they've already got a lot of positions covered. Makes sense to me. Checks out.
Trent Liero can play 13 front row or edge. And like that's pretty much, that's it. For a team that's got like, you've got an outside back on the bench, you've got multiple hookers, multiple halves. It's probably the perfect 18.
It makes sense.
Yeah, from a positional perspective. I was just more surprised at from a rookie perspective. You know, you bring in a Trent Liero for game 3, huge decider. But I understand it because, you know, he fits the category of what Billy Slater's all about. And that's a bloke that just never stops trying. Sometimes tries too much. So massive congratulations to him. And the good thing about this for Trent Liero is that it's only going to make him better. Yep. He's only going to be a better player. And at the end of the day, he's been the starting 13 for the Melbourne Storm, who are on top of the table. Like, hasn't been spoken about that much, but he made a positional move this year into that 13 jersey. Josh King gets moved in the front row. They're on top of the table, so he's doing something
in
right.
a pack that we've said for a few years now have struggled through the middle and lacking a bit of quality and size. And, you know, he's not a big body as such, but as you said, they're getting results, and he's been a big part of that, playing big minutes for them.
Now, in regards to game plan, do you think Billy will ever say, boys, I need you to just put the ball away a little bit. I want you to complete over 85 to 90%. Or nah, Billy is all in, all or nothing. We're going out there to score as many points as possible.
Yeah, fuck that. I think they'll go to score points. Look at the side they've got playing at Suncorp. I think Kempy, like, if that's going to be your game plan, you've picked the wrong fullback. Like, you've just got to lean into him. And the attacking players they've got, like some of those passes DCE threw over the weekend, that was just off its head.
Yeah,
like I just see them going full throttle in attack.
Mate, DCE, he must be seeing the game in slow-mo at the moment.
He is. It's insanity. Everything is just he's got so much time in every single moment, no matter whether it's Origin, NRL, whatever the hell it might be. That pass that he threw around the back for the first try. There's another pass he threw in their own. We'll talk about it soon, but he threw a pass to Jason Saab where I don't think Saab was quite ready for it. So he threw it and just floated it in the air to allow Saab to time his run onto the football. Like, that's crazy.
He's so bloody good. He's seen everything on the field. Everything. He knows how to react. Game plan. Timmy, do you reckon there is a chance that he reins in a little bit?
Probably not, and I think the Kalen Ponga selection suggests that. And I think we saw in game 2, the Blues have a far more explosive squad, but I am confident that the Maroons, particularly with the addition of Caleb Ponga on the bench, have a more skillful squad. And between Reece Walsh, between Benny Hunt and Harry Grant at number 9, just so crafty, so skillful, so many points in them. Quite different teams in that respect.
Well, like if you're going to pick a backyard footy side, this wins every day of the week.
And that's it. And I think, as you alluded to, Suncorp Stadium, what should be a dry, fast track, there should be a lot of points in it. And I just think what we've seen from Billy Slater since he's took over the Maroons, he's going to say, we're going to outscore you here.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, if it clicks for him, it'll be one of the most exciting Origin games you'll ever see.
Everything goes to plan, no injuries, no HIA. Where do you see KP? And what position, what sort of time of the game? What do you reckon?
Yeah, maybe when Paddy Carrigan comes off. I think that it'll probably reduce the minutes that either Benny Hunt or Harry Grant get. So you probably won't see Harry Grant and Benny Hunt on the field at the same time. And when Paddy gets a bit fatigued, I think you'll see KP come in for about 10 minutes before half time and then see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon... I mean, I can see it being very tight at half time, everything on the line for these two teams. I reckon just a tiring pack, 25 minutes to go. Of course, Matt's situation is going to, dictate where and how Ponga comes on. But, I mean, what we saw it in whenever his Origin debut was, whatever year that was, and he came off the bench and played sort of that middle role where the bases came in and chimed in where he wanted to, where he needed to. But, yeah, I can all go into plan, provided it's a relatively tight game, 25 to go, tiring pack, Kalen, come on through the middle, do your best.
Okay, so nothing in the first half, you reckon?
Probably not.
Okay,
I don't reckon it'll come on in the first half either. I think it'll be late in the game. If Queensland need to, get a few more points on the board when the Sting's gone out of the game, I don't think he'll come on in the first half. I think you're quite right, Timmy. It'll be pretty too tight around half time. Yeah, I reckon probably second half.
What do you reckon, Red?
I reckon just before half time.
Yeah, I reckon just before half time. I think it's a pretty risky move to sit a bloke on the bench till the fucking 65th minute. Very, he's just sitting there just wanting to get on, keen, especially with a guy like KP. It's like, put it this way, if you want a guy ball playing around the ruck, and you've already, basically is what I think you're alluding to is that would mean that Harry Grant and Benny Hunt would stay on the field together before half time. So like if when Benny Hunt comes off or doesn't come off, but Harry Grant comes on, who's going to be that other ball player? And Paddy Carrigan comes off, who would be that ball player?
Grant and Hunt have, I need to double check game 2, but have essentially been playing a half each, or 40 minutes each.
Yep.
So I don't see why that all sort of changed too much with the addition of.
Well, when Paddy comes off, who do you reckon goes on to be that link man?
Well, I think with the additional with Ponga on the bench as opposed to the 4-forward bench that they went with in game 2, I think Benny Hunt probably just plays a few extra minutes and plays as that out and out 13.
Yeah, so you would have Harry Grant and Benny Hunt on the field at the same time.
I'm happy to do that for a bit. Yeah, not like they're not both playing 80 minutes, obviously, but they've been playing huge minutes this series, those two. And with Ponga on the bench, I think Hunt probably has to play a few more minutes. So you saying that Ponga comes on before half time, goes off again, then comes back on again? Or you saying he comes on for 30 minutes, then goes off and doesn't come back?
Oh, in regards to coming on or coming back, you see how it goes, really. That 10 minutes that he's on, if he's just absolutely causing havoc.
I know it was 6 years ago, but Ponga's played on the bench once in Origin, which was his debut, which Joey said was the best debut he's ever seen. Billy Slater was actually playing that game, which is quite crazy. But he came on in the 28th minute and stayed on the field for the rest of the game. I know it was 6 years ago, but that's just what.
Any injuries or anything? Or
I don't recall there being an injury.
what year was it?
2018 game 2.
I just think it's...
I hope he doesn't stay on the field.
I just think when you got the Dally M, if he comes on 10 minutes before half time and he is just ripping, you just keep him on.
He looked unbelievable on the weekend.
Yeah.
But he's also one game back from a lengthy injury layoff and he's going into Origin football. It's a lot.
Interesting. Be very interesting. Cannot wait to see how he is used.
I can't wait to see how DCE utilises him and Walsh at the same time too.
Him and Walsh on the field at the same time. I didn't even think of that. You're looking up and you've got fucking Reece Walsh and Caleb.
That's
Ponga.
what, mate. You could just go strike. Like you could just terrorise.
That is tough. Footwork on either side of the ruck. Imagine if there's a try scored where KP inside ball to Reece Walsh or something like that.
Like, mate, if you guys have like an injury or a HIA in the first 10 or 15 minutes, like I'll be filthy. That terrifies me.
Because he'll be on the field for
he'll be on the field for longer. There'll be unknown. I think KP is one of those guys that if you just tell him, just get out there and play footy, that's when he's going to do his best. I think at Newcastle sometimes they try and overstructure him, put him into certain spots. I think you just let the guy go out and play
footy, get the ball in his hand. Is there any concern in regards to being the front line of defence with everything?
Yeah, for sure. But
80 minutes.
It is. Yeah, it's Origin. You do what you got to do.
Yeah, I look at the team and I go, shit, if they lose one, potentially 2 forwards in this game, you're so light on. Like all of a sudden, let's say you were to lose one early, means big minutes for both.
Paddy.
Well, all of them really have to lift up because, I mean, Ben Hunt's probably the one straight off the bat that probably has to play bigger minutes. Like I think Paddy Carrigan probably gets his 65 into 70 anyway. But yeah, if you lose a forward early,
because you're not playing Fodawaker long minutes.
No, you don't want to play Mo big minutes. Felice can obviously come on and play bigger minutes, but you're light on in the pack.
Yeah,
you can't really afford an injury there.
Yeah, maybe one.
You can cop one.
If we get 2,
if you get 2, it's very concerning. And as you said with Ponga, sure, it's all good to look at the excitement of Ponga coming in and what he can do. At the end of the day, he's a fullback defending probably in the middle in Origin.
Yeah.
That's a risk.
Yeah.
You look at like Spencer Len, you coming onto the field, running at Kalen Ponga through the middle. Have fun with that.
Yeah. And because you'd have injuries, you'd probably have Benny Hunt on as well. So your middle would be, you'd have Hunt, Grant, and KP. It'd be like the smallest middle in the history of Origin.
And that's her as well. And we'll get to the New South Wales side soon, but I think
you know what? They'd defend him on an edge. They'd move it to an edge.
They'd move it to an edge, yeah. I don't think you'd defend through the middle. But you look at the New South Wales side, like adding Mitch Barnett, another genuine middle forward as well.
Yeah.
It could be the difference there.
We'll get to New South Wales. I feel sorry for Lakawata because I didn't think he actually played that bad, but I do think the fast track with Barnett off the bench is a smart decision.
Yeah, I think similar to Hudson Young, similar to Cam McInnes, he didn't deserve to get dropped, but I think it makes most sense for this game.
All right, boys. Anything else on the Queensland? I mean, I tell you what, I'd love to get your feelings on how much of a favourite you think they are. For me, I have New South Wales as favourites heading into the game, and that's not a piss take or whatever. It's looking at how many good minutes of rugby league have been played by either side in game 1 and game 2, and Queensland have yet to play a longer spans than maybe 10 minutes of good footy in both games. I've got New South Wales as favourites.
Suncorp Stadium, I've sort of got them dead even at the moment, to be honest, so I can't split them.
Yeah, I think neutral venue, if it was, say, in Melbourne, I'd have the Blues favourite, but that's Suncorp crowd, and as I said, the dry track as well, which I think ties into their footy nicely. It brings it right back in. So I haven't actually looked at the odds. I've got them dead even, though.
I can tell you the actual odds. Queensland $1.80, New South Wales $2.05. Queensland obviously won the last 8 game 3s at Suncorp, so that helps as well. I don't know, I think maybe the way that New South Wales played last game, I'd probably have it a bit closer to even, or maybe New South Wales slight favourites as well.
Matty?
I think those odds are bang on, to be honest. New South Wales haven't won at Suncorp Decider since Andrew Johns. We've only done it twice. The other one was in 1992 or something. Like, it just doesn't happen. So I think, as you said, Timmy, if it was a neutral venue, if it was at a core stadium, I'd have Blues favourites for sure. But yeah, I got Queensland as favourites. We've been burnt too many times.
Do you think that, and I know no one wants to talk about it, but do you think that with the amount of injuries the forward pack has for Queensland, that they're pretty much the normal odds probably heading into game 3 at Suncorp that you'd have? Do you think they're not taking into the consideration that there is quite a few forwards missing? And we just spoke about if 2 forwards go down or at least 1 forward goes down, it's going to be, well, put it this way, Kafusi, Kurt Kate, if everyone's fit, Kurt Catewell, Fodawaker, Kafusi probably aren't in the side, I'd say. Do you think that's being thought about enough in regards to their pack being a bit weaker than it would be or not?
Bookies don't miss too much, mate.
I know, but I'm asking your... All right, end of show. We'll just get the favourites.
You asked me if the bookies have overlooked it. I don't think so.
I'm talking about in regards to your opinion on the favourites or whatever.
No, I would probably have Blues a little bit closer, but it's at Suncorp Stadium. You've got an incredible record there.
Okay. All right, awesome. Timmy, what do you reckon?
Bookies don't get it wrong much, mate. As I said,
Do you think people are taking into consideration the injuries in the forward pack for Queensland enough?
Oh, they have to, but their packs, I don't think they've had any injuries since game 1 or 2 that have changed anything. The injuries they had, Gilbert, Malawi, they've been both gone long term, so I don't think much changes.
Which pack would you have better on paper?
Probably New South Wales.
Just getting the Blues pack up, but yeah, probably off what we saw in game 2, probably the Blues. And as I said, I've got huge concerns for your edge defence in the 9, Kurt Capel, so probably the Blues.
And which outside backs do you think are better on paper?
Bloody hell, a lot of questions. Well, I'm on the spot here.
While you answer that, Timmy, I was really bullish on Taulagi being picked for game 1, but this back 5 scares me the most so far this series.
Yeah, okay. With Val coming on the wing,
Val on the wing, Galo coming in, Cobo coming in. Yeah.
I'm not splitting them, mate. I think they're both terrific, and yeah, I'm not fence sitting, but I think they're both as lethal as each other.
Backline, your opinion last time was you felt...
I thought the Blues forward pack was better than Queensland's. Now, to be fair, Queensland have a lot of injuries.
Yep.
But as it stands, I think our forward pack's better.
Yep.
I actually think that Queensland have the better back 5 this game.
On paper?
Just by a whisker.
Yeah, okay.
If I had to pick one.
Okay,
yeah.
Hammy,
I would agree. I reckon Queensland have got a better backline on paper, and the Blues have got a few more weapons in the forward pack, I reckon, on paper.
Okay. Root, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I've got the back lines about dead even. I think Val's better on the wing, and Gagai scares the shit out of me.
So you're even for the forward pack as well?
No, I think our forward pack's better.
So for you two, it's the Suncorp factor that is pushing them into favourites.
I like the Blues pack. 1 to 7 though backline, including the halves, I give it to Queensland because you're adding in, I think, Reece Walsh. Edwards was obviously better in game 1, but we had everything go our way. Still Walsh, Edwards head to head. Walsh is a freak in my eyes. But Daly Chair Evans, I said it before game 2, and I'll say the same again now. A decider, been there, done it time and time again, Cherry Evans. He's the differentiator between the two backlines for me. So 1 to 7, I'd probably take the Maroons.
Take the Maroons, but the Blues forward pack's better.
Marginally, yeah.
Marginally.
I reckon David Fafita's a bit of a miss for the Maroons. I think Mitch Barnett's a good inclusion for the Blues. Yeah, I reckon.
With that explosiveness that Barnett brings, Fafita obviously would have brought that to Queensland.
Correct. Yep.
I'm just looking at the 2020 Game 3 Queensland team, which in inverted commas, worst ever. The 4-pack actually isn't that much worse. It was Welsh, Friend, Papali'i, Kafusi, Capewell, Tino, Sewer, Grant, Collins, Arrow. Like, looking back, that's a pretty good 4-pack, probably similar to this 4-pack, but obviously it was the back five that game that was significantly worse than this one. So
I think also a few of those boys that you're talking about were much earlier in their career. Like, for example, Collins is nowhere near as respected as he. Tino nowhere near as respected as he is now.
Absolutely. I'm just kind of going back to that that bookie question. Like, this Queensland team is better. That Queensland team did win that game. So, the Suncorp thing, it's a huge factor.
It's the Suncorp thing. That's the be all and end all. That's the answer to the question. It's Suncorp.
Daniel, what do you reckon? Four packs and backlines.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I would have to say I think that the backline for 1 to 7, the backline for Queensland is better. I think our starting pack is actually probably better than New South Wales. But then I look at our bench. Oh, sorry. Okay, well there. Our starting pack at full strength and everything, with everything going on, if I had a Fafita in there, I would say our starting pack is maybe a bit better. But I just think your bench is like substantially, as a forwards, substantially better. So like not even, like genuinely a level above. And I said it in game 1 when we were talking about the selections. Your bench is just so explosive. And what happened? You came on and absolutely fucking exploded onto the field. And so that's where I think that, for example, like Lindsay Collins and Ruben Cotter, like in Origin, they can go with anyone. And then you obviously got Paddy Carrigan. He's been the best 13 in Origin for a few years now. But yeah, you just get to the bench like Maui Fodawaker, solid player, but he wouldn't make that New South Wales bench. Kafusi wouldn't make that New South Wales bench. And he probably, I'm assuming you wouldn't carry a forward on the, you wouldn't carry a back in KP. So probably I reckon the bench for me is what is the real difference for New South Wales.
I think as well with your forward pack, mate, I think New South Wales forward pack is better. But if DCE kicks like he has the last few years, a kicking game like his turns a good forward pack into a great forward pack in a heartbeat. We've seen that over the last few seasons.
Bloody saw it for like Manly on the weekend. His kicking game just like keeps him in the game.
It literally keeps him in the game.
Alrighty, now to the Blues squad. Don't forget, guys, July 22nd, 6 p.m. Monday, the green and gold drop is happening. Green and gold shirts, jumpers, spray jackets, and the hats are back. And also, something big's coming early September. I put a lot of work into it. I can't wait to show you what it is. Okay, let's get into the side. Now, the talking point around this side probably will be more about what's happening around the chat, with Michael Maguire and everything happening there rather than the team, because the team is pretty settled. The team, Edwards, To'o, Best, Crichton, Lomax, Luai, Moses, Trebojevic, Robson, Haas, Martin, Crichton, Murray, Watson, Yeo, Barnett, Lenu. Biggest selection is Bradman Best at 3. They could have brought Suoliti back in. They could have brought Tom Trebojevic in. Latrell Mitchell goes down. I will say, when the news hit of Latrell Mitchell going down, it really is a case of you don't know what you got till it's gone, because there's Latrell Mitchell as the person, then there's the Latrell Mitchell, the superstar, the imposing idea that exists in rugby league, the name when he walks on the field. And I got to say, just that fear factor that a Latrell Mitchell squad has, that definitely has been toned down a notch.
Just to jump in on you there, I knew what we had, and I was terrified that we were going to lose it, and then we lost it. So I knew exactly how it was going to play. How it was.
Wasn't it such a? And I assume even from a Queensland point of view that we're not, that we lose a superstar. From a Blue, it was so deflating. I was standing on the golf course having a great day and just went, "Fuck, I want to go home."
Yeah, I want to see him in Game 3, Suncorp. I want to beat him. Well, not me, but obviously Queensland. I want to be able to go out and beat him, because that's the one thing, New South Wales, not everyone, but some people bring up, we haven't had Latrell or we haven't had Tommy. So I wanted to see a famous Suncorp decider with Gagai versus Latrell. Could you imagine?
It loomed as just a career-defining moment for Latrell Mitchell. Coming back in this Blues side, obviously no good in Game 1, kept us alive, along with a great team performance in Game 2. to be the man up at Suncorp. I think, Matty, you mentioned the Game 3 Queensland decider stats earlier, 7 loss in a row, whatever. If he came out and killed it, it was career-defining, and we're unfortunately going to get that chance.
And like these Origin 3 deciders in Suncorp, I heard Joey talking about it the other day, like they don't come along all that often. You don't get many opportunities like this, and you want to see a champion like Latrell on that stage.
Yeah. I will say, if he went up to, Suncorp, got that victory for you, New South Wales fans would be like, forever love. Like, it's love forever. I don't care the polarising nature or this, or in the future you play a certain way. I think New South Wales fans would go, nah, you got us that Game 3. I don't give a shit. We love you.
I think there's a couple out there that could still find a reason to hate him at the time. But
their opinion doesn't matter.
But yes, he would, it would be massive for him not to be in the side Game 1, not play for a couple of years or whatever, and then do that in Game 3 would have just been unbelievable. It would have been like Origin folklore sort of stuff.
Absolutely. So Bradman Best comes in over Suoliti, over Tommy Trbojevic. Thoughts on the selection?
Watching Tommy Turbo the other night, I didn't think there was a hope in hell he was going to get picked. He he's just coming back from injury. He probably looked as he should, realistically. He's not ready to play Origin. Suoli's interesting. I straight away thought Bradman Best. I thought that was the obvious one. I was surprised how many people in comments and everything last night were saying Suoli. I don't know how you two felt, but that took me by surprise a little bit.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Because 3 or 4 months ago, Suoli couldn't play centre.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, he's a shoo-in for an Origin gig.
Yeah, I thought that was very strange. I thought Bradman was the most logical option. I think that Matt Burton...
Sorry, I don't think he couldn't play centre, but that was the general consensus.
Yes, I think Matt Burton could consider himself unlucky, but once again, I do think Bradman Best is the best choice.
Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Yep, like the Bradman Best option. I
thought you were going to say the bookies know.
Hey, that was Guru.
I know.
No. Yeah. I'm all for Bradman Best. I think he's earned the call up. And, Tommy Trbojevic yesterday, he didn't look like a bloke who was going out there to play for an Origin jersey. That in no way is a knock on Tom Trbojevic. I actually respect it because in the way I viewed it was that Tom Trbojevic was playing for Manly and he was going back to get some reps under his belt at centre. He didn't roam, as we know he traditionally does in his limited opportunities at centre. He, even in the back end of the game, when he got to Golden Point, he's just a classic for taking that carry before the field goal shot and getting the quick play of the ball. Didn't look to do that. He was coming back in to get through a game. Tom Trbojevic, granted he did look a bit gassed in the back end of the game, rightly so, because he'd been out for a while. If he was playing for an Origin jersey, he has another 7 or 8 runs. He's more involved. He's roaming. He's doing all that. He didn't do it at all. So definitely not Tom Trbojevic, as much as it pains me to say it. And Suoliti.
So just quickly for the people listening, they probably, I don't know this for sure, but Manly probably would have told Tom, we don't want you to have more than 10 runs or something like that. Like they would have all these numbers and stats that they would say to Tom, we don't want you to get over this in the game. Now, this isn't the usual case for injured players, but because he is such an important asset to the club and on such big money and blah, 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 and all the history, that's why, part of the reason why I think you would have seen him not getting as involved, because he probably would have been directed to, mate, we just need you to get through it. Here's the numbers we want you at, which is like 10 runs, around 5 kilometres run. I personally think, in my opinion, that was probably told to him.
Yeah, no, absolutely, very fair. And just on Best, I just look back to how grateful I am that he got a crack in Game 3 in a dead rubber last year, and it's just a lesson or something to remember for future dead rubbers. Not that they come around too often, but the value you can get out of them, because if Bradman Best was going to the Origin arena for the first time at Suncorp in a decider, I'd be terrified, because no matter how good we are at club level, it's just a new ball game. He's been there, he's done it. Yeah, it was a dead rubber, but it's still Origin, and he killed it. The confidence that'll give him going into this.
Yeah, I like Bradman Best, and although Suoliti, he would have done the same thing. First of all, Suoliti hasn't played any footy for, what is it now, nearly 6 weeks by the time that game comes around. So to expect him just to roll straight into Origin, I think that's craziness. And that's no knock on him. That's just a natural part of rugby league.
Game 1, was it looking, refresh my memory, was it looking like being Best and then he was ruled out and then Suoliti came in? Was Suoliti already in? What happened there?
Best got injured and I think he only played 1 game leading into it, I think.
Yeah.
Actually,
Didn't he
no, he actually got injured.
He got injured
again.
the week of, didn't he?
Yeah, no, it was one game leading into game 2. That was him versus Latrell for game 2. He did his hammy, I'm pretty sure, on Magic Round.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And wasn't sweet.
So Suaalii was picked before Best in game 1, but Best was injured at the time.
He was injured
Yes.
at the time.
I
Yeah.
was just trying to work out what the pecking order was, but okay.
Best wasn't available game 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder whether he would have got that spot. I wonder.
Dunno.
Interesting.
Probably after game 3 last year.
Yeah, you'd have to assume so.
Dunno.
You'd have to assume so. What I like about like Bradman Best, although I feel Burton, you could consider him unlucky. He's been 18th man. He can play centre. What I like about Bradman Best in this society is just the physical presence that he's going to have. Whereas like Burton, although really silky, really skillful, the mould that you guys have gone for is that physical presence, and it's worked for you. Even when you had a player sent off, you played incredibly well. And you just look at his background; he fits the mould that Michael Maguire was trying to select for before game 1, which was a friggin' massive outside back that can get heaps of metres coming out of their own end. Whereas Burton, he's not going to take 1,000 carries coming out, and he's going to have those slick on the end kind of finishes, but it's not really your style at the moment of selection. So I like the physicality that he's going to bring. Massive congratulations to him. And yeah, he's still 22 years old, relatively young, got such a big future ahead of him. I think that Suncorp, what I like about Best, especially after that game 3, is there's no part of me now that's really worried that he's going to be able to handle Origin, that he's going to shy away from it, which is pretty much the biggest question you have for debutants. And it's not necessarily talent, it's not fitness, it's will they shy away from such a brutal, aggressive, fast-paced game? Bradman Best is not going to do that. And in regards to meterage, he's just as good as any centre in the game. I think he slots straight in. Does he have... Obviously, he doesn't have the X factor that Latrell has, but he still has X factor. He still can break games open if he wants to.
Yeah, and if you're not picking a guy because he doesn't have the X factor of Latrell, don't pick a fucking side.
Forfeit. You forfeit.
It's the reality of it.
Just run out with 12.
Yeah.
God, I thought it was funny yesterday when Bradman Best, we were 9 minutes into the game, he'd had one hit up, and then commentators were going, "How's he get himself into the game?" He's on. It's like, you just let the fucking game play out. The bloke had 19 runs in the game of football.
Yeah, it's okay. Other selections. It's all pretty bang on. Mitch Barnett on the bench. I think, as I said, Ola Kawatu, I thought he's done well in Origin. I think he'll absolutely be back in the arena. I think he's a victim of Angus Crichton and Liam Martin being arguably two of your best players to a degree.
Yeah.
And then also a victim of, he just had other people in the forward pack that have done such a good job that even him coming on, he hasn't really had a chance to make that much of an impact. You know what I mean? Your forward pack has been so good that I don't think it's his form or his performance that let him down. I just think it's a matter of leg speed through the middle. It's a fast track. Mitch Barnett suits that.
And I think the reality is Olakwatu is a great player, but he's, at the moment, at this point of his career, is an out-and-out edge back rower.
Yeah.
He hasn't played through the middle because he hasn't needed to play through the middle. He's been one of the best edge back rowers in the competition over the last few seasons, whereas Mitch Barnett can do both. I think even Olakwatu, I'm sure he wouldn't be stoked, but I think even part of him would sit there and go, it makes sense. I get it.
Yeah. Well, it's very obvious what's happened.
100%,
It's not like
yeah.
a bizarre, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
It's not like you've picked a really big 120 kilo front rower, dropped him, and then brought in another really big 120 kilo front rower that plays the same as him. You've brought in a guy with really fast leg speed. It's an out-and-out front rower, as opposed to an edge back rower in Olakwatu who doesn't have fast leg speed, but obviously has great footwork, great offload. And I just think that, as I said, I think Angus Crichton is playing so good that he brings enough X factor on the edges there. So I think after game one, Madge probably sat back and went, I've got a surplus of edge. I think all of us heading into game one, we probably sat there and go, Hudson Young and Olakwatu, they can come on and be the X factor because it is a pretty, very conservative, big, strong side. I think after game 1 and 2, he's gone, holy shit, Angus Crichton, not only is he strong ball runner, everything, but also he has X factor. Yeah. So I've got a surplus of it on the bench. I don't really need it.
When you're talking about replacing Olakwatu, I think Mitch Barnett's a great decision. Do you think Keon would have been close?
I think he would have been close for sure. I just think that Mitch Barnett's form and the fact that I know Keon can play both edge and middle, and he's been good all year, but I just think that Mitch Barnett's form across the whole season helped him, but also his leg speed through the middle. I think that Keon, although really good in the middle, gets through a bunch of work, heaps of metres. He probably doesn't have as quick a leg speed through the middle, I'd say, as Mitch Barnett. But like they're quite a different style of player.
And I feel really sorry for Olukwatu once again because I think even Keon's a better fit in that jersey than him for this game. What they can bring, being able to play edge and middle.
And I also think Mitch Barnett's line speed in defence as well. Keon, really good in defence, but I don't watch Keon and go, wow, that defensive line speed's crazy. What do you reckon, Mitch Barnett at 16?
Yeah, love it. Congratulations to Mitchie for getting the debut, and very different bench to what we saw in game one, as you said, when we had the two, in my eyes, two out-and-out edge-back roles in Olukwatu and Hudson Young. You've now got 4 middle forwards, obviously, with Connor Watson being the utility.
Do you think, apologies for interrupting, but
right,
do you
mate.
think that he did realise I've got a surplus of X factor to a degree?
No, I think it's just probably injuries and people coming back have dictated it. So Cam Murray being the big one. You've got Angus Crichton, who's an 80-minute edge-back rower. That doesn't change. Liam Martin, who can go 80 but tends to play around that 55, 60-minute mark in Origin. And I think you'll see here that Cam Murray probably plays 80 and spends time on the edge when Liam Martin goes off, which will allow Mitch Barnett, Yo, Lenu all to come on through the middle. So the availability of Murray, which we didn't have in game one when we had those two edge-back rowers, that's changed it entirely. And I feel sorry for Olukwatu, who you said he didn't do anything wrong. It's just that you've got Mitch Barnett, who looks like he's made for Origin football. As you always say, Cam, he's got that dog about him. I love what I think he's going to bring, and you said that, Guru, he can cover edge and middle really effectively. And because he's had that stint on the edge for the Warriors over the last 6-7 weeks at different stages and been so effective, we saw him set up a try, I think it was on the weekend, sweeping out the back, might have been the week before. That was terrific. It's a great looking bench.
I'll tell you what, the leg speed with Watson, Barnett, Leno off the bench for you guys is unbelievable. Like some of the best leg speed in the competition, literally. It's an explosive bench. You still run into the concern of if an outside back goes down, you definitely don't have it covered. Thoughts on that?
We kind of do. We've got Connor Watson. Like Connor Watson went out to centre last week and played there for the Roosters, and
then you lose then the hook has to play 9. Basically, what I'm saying is you don't have an outside back and a utility like Queensland.
Yeah, and it's a concern, especially at Origin level. Connor Watson can go out there. He's an able replacement. Say, like he'd have to play centre if there was an outside back went down. He'll do a job there. You'd prefer an out-and-out, back to cover it, but I still think we're relatively well covered.
Okay, so have you softened your stance on having an outside back on the bench now?
Well, I think even from game one, I was happy for it to be Connor Watson. Like I'm still all for Matt Burton, but again, we've seen for the Roosters Connor Watson play centre and do a job there. Connor Watson's played plenty of 5'8".
I used to. I must have got it wrong. I used to think that you wanted a utility and an outside back on the bench, but you just want one utility that can play anywhere.
Well, it's different because going into game one, I can't remember exactly, but Connor Watson wasn't available. He was injured.
Yep.
So Connor Watson, I'm confident Connor Watson can go out to centre and do a job.
Okay.
As I said, we literally saw it for the Roosters 2 weeks ago. So if I was saying that for Origin 1, there was no Connor Watson, who's a very unique player in the fact that he can cover 1 to 13.
Yep. Okay. So if you didn't have Connor Watson, you would carry an outside back on the bench, or you consider it more strongly?
Yes, if there was no Connor Watson, I'd have Matt Burton on the bench.
Yep.
For sure.
What do you reckon? Guru?
Yeah, I agree.
Guru?
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Matty?
Sorry, I was slightly distracted, and I've got a stat for you that's going to blow you away. But to answer your question, I'm happy with Watson being able to cover the centres. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You even like at worst case scenario, like if you had a centre go down, I know you probably lose a bit, but I'd be happy to even shift Angus Crichton out there if need be.
Cam Murray.
Him one
Cam
more
Murray
wide
as
open,
well.
Cam Murray.
Yeah.
Murray does
We've
a
got
great
plenty
job
of
centre.
options there.
Yep.
And Mitch Barnett could, that's his advantage. He can come in and play edge or middle, whatever you need. And we've got forwards that can play big minutes in Payne Haas. And, I think if you had to ask Gerbo to play big minutes, he would be able to do it too. So, I actually think the New South Wales team, like, outside of Latrell not being in this side, I think each team, our side's got slightly better.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a team, as a whole 17, I think each game has got, once again, I would want Latrell, but I think that this team looks better than the game 1 and game 2 from a 17 point of view.
Isn't it interesting how different the sides are? Because if you could have Connor Watson in the Queensland jersey, let's say you could, a Queensland version of Connor Watson, would that change your bench up, or would you still run with the Harry Grant, Kalen Ponga at outside back?
I think I'd still run with it.
Yep.
As it is.
And you just see it more as this is Queensland play just a very different style of footy to New South Wales, and that's why the bench is so substantially different.
Yeah, and without like coming back to it constantly, like I probably wouldn't pick the side you've picked if the game was in Sydney. But I think Suncorp,
Yep, fast track.
you lean into it.
Yep.
I think if you have a Connor Watson available, let's say it was Connor Watson available for the Maroons, I do think it changed it because Kalen Ponga, we know how explosive and what he can offer, but more than anything, he's there to cover injuries and backline positions. If you have Connor Watson, he can do that. So he can come on and be another middle presence. That issue we said about if they do lose a forward, especially if they were to lose two forwards, not unheard of in the Origin arena, with the physicality of it, Watson would cover it. So, yeah.
But you'd also, so I'm saying, basically what I'm saying is that you'd lose Grant or Hunt and Kalen Ponga because you would go for a three forward bench with Connor Watson.
Yeah, if there was a Connor Watson that they were willing to pick, you probably don't pick, particularly off one game back from injury, you probably don't pick Ponga because I don't think you really need him.
Well, you'd have to, what I'm saying is as though it's two. So Ponga and Grant go. If you've got the same style of bench as New South Wales, you would be getting rid of Ponga and Grant.
Yeah.
You would do that?
I don't really know what you're talking about, mate. Sorry.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, and my answer would be if Connor Watson played for Queensland, I don't think he'd get picked. I think Queensland would still go with Ponga
Because of the style of the footy they play.
Yeah, but I'm happy as New South Wales. I think it's
the
a
style
good fit.
that they play.
Yeah.
What I'm just trying to present to you is that how different the style that they both choose to play as. Like in the bench, if you need to see how different a style of rugby league is being played, you just look at the bench because they couldn't be more different.
So different.
They couldn't be more different. And yet for New South Wales, you're happy to do it this way.
Yep.
But for Queensland, you're happy to do it this way. And so I'm just trying to.
And what dictates it, mate, is that you've got the number nines. It's such a unique position where you've got these two guns who have to be in there somewhere. Like in a normal world, you'd just let one of them play 65 minutes and then you'd have, I think Harry Grant could easily go 80 in Origin.
Yep.
Ben Hunt is a middle, probably a bit of a different story. Maybe he can, maybe he can't, I don't know. But let's say Harry Grant was injured and you wanted Ben Hunt to play 65, you could put Cotter in there for 15 minutes to give him a bit of a spell if needed. But because they're so good, you have to have them both. It's quite a unique situation.
Yeah. I do what I love about it is, and that's why I wanted to really double down on the point and walk through it with you, as in like get your opinions on it, sorry, is like I do feel like for a very long time that every coach just coached the same. Like this is what the bench was. This is how you went, you ran with this player at here, your 14 was this, your 15, 16, 17 was this. What I love about this is how much the game has divulged where you've got a bench that honestly could not be more opposite to this bench, and yet both styles can work.
Yeah, and this is what I said at the start. I respect both coaches so much in this series because they've picked the 17 they want. They've played the way they haven't listened to outside noise or whatever it might be. And I agree. And like I still think you see it in the NRL today. We had this conversation before Origin too. Like I think 10 years ago, everyone was so obsessed with having this big middle forward in jersey 13. The ball playing 13 idea was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like it was just ridiculous. Like I remember suggesting it with a guy like Tyrone Peach and got absolutely fucking pizzled.
Well, it was the Tamalolo effect.
It was the Tamalolo effect, 100%. And people just went, no, you can't move away from that. You need that power forward game. Whereas now, you see teams pick a guy like that in jersey 13. The Melbourne Storm do it week in, week out. No one cares, but you see other teams do it and people freak out.
Yeah, it's totally different. I mean, you've got Kurt Mann playing 13 now, and
does a great job.
Yeah.
He is the closest thing to Connor Watson you guys have.
Queensland,
I think that the biggest factor that's changed that over the last 4 to 5 years in the bench makeup, aside from, that you can go with a smaller pack that we're starting to see emerge, and particularly the number 13 in a team, I just think it's, as the NRL and Rugby League cracks down on head knocks and how easily HIAs happen and you lose a player for the game from a slip of the arm, it then puts and we've seen it just about in every team named this series, does a coach gamble with a 4-forward bench and go, we'll be right, we'll get through it? Or do they play conservative and go, nah, I need coverage with a backline player? I think a lot of it comes down to HIAs and how the NRL is cracking down on it and getting on top of it. It's changed the nature of how a coach picks a bench.
Yeah, I think it's the HIAs, the crackdown on everything like that, mixed with, I think, the pace of the game and also ball in play is just like, my understanding ball in play has increased pretty dramatically because the NRL have looked at all the statistics and said, the more time the ball's in play, the more exciting the game is, the more fatigue there is. And I think that's also what's reduced the size of the benches and that to a degree, mixed with everything else. Look, I think Michael Maguire has done look, whether he wins or loses game 3 by however much, like obviously if it gets absolutely, annihilated, that's one thing. I just think that New South Wales need to get behind what Michael Maguire has done. Like, whether you go up to Suncorp and you lose, yes, it will be disappointing. I get it. It's pissed off. But don't start calling for heads and start questioning this and questioning that, because at the end of the day, for 2 games, New South Wales have been the better side. Game 1, that thing happened, so that threw it out the window, but they were still the better side for most of the game. So I just think that I think Michael Maguire's done an outstanding job at not only his selections, as you just said, Guru, not folding to media pressure, but also selecting with a very clear path of how he wants to play rugby league.
And I don't care what happens next Wednesday night, if anyone walks away from that thinking that we need a change from Madge, it's like, just remind yourself a year ago when we were thinking about who was going to replace Freddie and the names we were throwing up. Like, Madge has done a tremendous job. When you consider that, we had game 1 in Sydney, our only game in Sydney, and after 7 minutes, that was pretty much Red Rover. He still got the best out of them during that game. Look at he's been without Nathan Cleary, Turbo, Latrell for a period of time. And I know Queensland have had their injuries, but Madge has had to face a lot of challenges.
Absolutely.
And he's pulled a lot of guys together, and he's brought a lot of guys in that, honestly, who's Madge picked that's let us down?
Well, we always speak about players coming in and lifting for the jersey or whatever. Zach Lomax has been incredible.
He's been incredible.
Has been incredible. Dylan Edwards was a great game too. They've all done a job and lifted to the occasion. So I think, as I said, regardless of result, I think this is absolutely a pass mark for Michael Maguire. Like, absolutely. I don't think anything aside from something mental happening in game 3 would suggest that he hasn't been good at his job, all things considered, for this first series.
And I feel like a broken record every time we make changes, but I feel like I've said it about 3 or 4 guys. They didn't deserve to get dropped. It just fits this side better. Like, everyone that he's picked has come in and done a really good job.
Timmy?
Yeah, I think unless Bradman Best would go down in the first 10 minutes and he slotted Spencer Lenu in at left centre for the rest of the game, if we lose this game, I'm not going to have a knock on Madge Maguire. I think the only 2 selections I was a little bit critical of going into the series were Lomax and Spencer Lenu, who have been 2 of our absolute best and are just currently now staples of the team moving forward, in my opinion. So Madge has been terrific.
Yep.
Can you imagine what Origin will look like next year if we get 2 full strength? And I'm sure it's always like this in Origin, but these 2 sides in particular, if you can get your full pack in
Munster,
there,
Tino, Flegler,
plus get
Gilbert,
all of our backline players
Fit Latrell, fit Turbo, fit Cleary.
Mate, it'll be some of the greatest rugby league we've ever watched. It'll be unbelievable. Okay.
Sorry, just 2 things. Apparently, when Madge called Olakau'atu to drop him, Olakau'atu said, I'll still come to camp and train if you guys need. Which is good to hear.
It's great culture to be building.
Awesome.
And that,
The second thing...
Mate, you've got it this fucking series, that's for sure.
The second thing, so you said Bess will make a lot of meters. I thought, I'll just check his average meters this year compared to other centres. He's sitting second for centres this year behind Roger, and Roger's played fullback and wing. So he's really number 1 in the NRL this year at 174 per game.
I'll tell you what, I watch rugby league.
I know it's not a big thing, but I just thought it was interesting. It just shows the sort of guy he is. I posted my live reaction to the New South Wales side last night. Who do you reckon the first like was from?
I won't ruin it. Who?
Olakau'atu.
Wow.
Very first one.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Love that. They're building a good culture. As I said, they're building a great culture. I think Michael Maguire's done an outstanding job. Okay, but he's come out. Oh, he's chirpy. He's chirpy. He's come out and hit Queensland with another glass houses. Gordy might be sitting in that glass house. You look at game 1, certain things were said off the field where you, the media, want to take that's up to you. But we're very focused about what happens on the field. It was nice to see we had a dominant performance, but it won't mean anything again if we don't do it again. We've given ourselves opportunity to win the series. The game is done now. Game 3 is ahead. But basically saying again that Gordy is living in a glass house after Gordy had something to say about the way, I'm pretty sure specifically he was talking about Critter spraying DCE and all that kind of stuff.
And Trell hitting Walsh a little bit.
Trell hitting Walsh after the ball was clearly gone, and basically saying where's the respect, blah, blah, blah. Funnily enough, it does remind me of when Clemmer had a go at Corey Parker, and that was the whole argument again, like, where's the respect? So Michael Maguire, he's come out again before a game, and he said, the Glass House's comment again. Do you think he's playing, he saw the success of last game, and he's kind of playing into that narrative again and trying to take the spotlight off the boys?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Yeah, I love whenever Gordy gets involved in something. It just makes for great theatre.
Yeah.
Like, whether he's right or wrong, I actually don't care. It's just funny. He's always a good time.
Yeah, Origin's a dog-eat-dog arena, and I think respect largely goes out the window when you cross that line in Origin. It's like no other really sporting experience or event in Australia, and it's why only certain type of person can survive in it and succeed. And I think the time for pleasantries and being nice to each other, it means nothing without really crossing a line, of course. And talking about respect in that game, please.
And he also said something else, another crack at Queensland?
Yeah, he called New South Wales the people's team because there's all this stuff going on about how apparently Billy Slater isn't giving the media too much access today, which is another kind of yarn within itself. But
so
yeah,
he's answered that and said some of their players don't get in till midday or whatever, and they've got corporate stuff going on, and then they've got to do some footy. So they will have access. I think it's just today that they've got a little bit less access.
And look, I don't want to sit here and defend Billy Slater, but I remember when I worked for the Blues, day one was always just complete chaos. Just chaos. So I think that's a bit of a beat up, to be fair.
So Michael Maguire said, so what was the quote?
I'll get it. Give me 2 seconds.
So we can be sure about it. But I mean, he's firing off. He's just fucking just grenades everywhere.
And I think like the word that kept coming up there was respect, and fuck, it'll shit me to no end if we go up to Suncorp and just show you too much respect.
Yeah,
we got to go up there. We've got to kick the door in, and we just got to. That's what I was so confident with Latrell going up there. But we've just got to keep that same energy.
So I don't think we have the full quote yet, but Danny Weidler tweeted, Michael Maguire has continued his glasshouse's attack on Queensland, declaring New South Wales the people's team after Billy Slater limited media access to his players. So we'll hear the quote tonight on Channel 9.
Okay. Whoa, that's good. It's good stuff.
I will say, when Madge was South's coach, it used to drive me nuts. Like, whenever I wanted to blame the ref, he never would. Like, he was really good at picking his moments. I remember when Cam Murray made his debut and Milford kicked a field goal to win the game, and it was the biggest knock-on of all time. And I remember thinking, fuck, I just want Madge to just blow up. And he picked that one as I've got a kid on debut who's going to remember that era for the rest of his life. And then the headlines that week were just off its head. Like, he picks his moments so carefully, and he's doing the same in this Blues game.
He didn't. That wasn't his quotes. He blew up at the refs because he had a kid on debut that week, and he was trying to distract.
No. So, sorry. What I'm trying to say is, like, he never used to say anything that kind of grabbed headlines, right? He always put the onus back on his team, but South was struggling at that point a little bit and really needed wins to get it. And then he just decided to let loose at the refs one random week.
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, he really picks his moment like every time.
I love that Matty remembers Cam Murray's debut when Milford knocked on kicking the field goal. That is fucking unreal.
Yeah, bullshit.
Love that.
Oh, that's good. That's rugby league, baby. The war of words, they have absolutely started. This is rugby league. I love it. This is Origin. This is what makes the game great.
Like, at the same time, though, State of Origin is so boring when they aren't going at each other.
I love it.
This is what you want.
This is what we want, guys. Like, yes, we can sit in, he should say this or he shouldn't say that. At the end of the day, we're here to be entertained.
Yeah.
It's not crossing a line. No one's saying anything over offensive. Like, it's a bit of banter being thrown across the board that we can run some headlines. It gets us all pumped. We all argue with each other. I love it. And I think, as I said, I thought last game, I think he did it to shield the Latrell hype. Man, we barely heard anything about Latrell heading into that game because of the Glass House's comment. And I think that he's done it again, and I think it's great.
Yeah, and I think into the future, I think the war of words will become so much bigger into the future, as is the case in world sport at the moment. And we will follow suit eventually.
I think so. And as I said, as long as it doesn't cross any lines into anything weird, bloody oath, this is great. You're getting to see a bit of hatred. I do think there was a bit of years where I was like, do they even hate each other? Do they actually hate each other? Like, I want them to hate each other at least for 80 minutes. So anyway, New South Wales, look, I think they're looking great. I'm as a Queenslander, I'm extremely nervous. I think that they look very centred. They look very focused in. They look very confident in what they're doing. And I think it's going to take a pretty special performance from Queensland to get the job done. I really think this New South Wales side, if you ever wanted a coach with backs against the wall, Michael Maguire's your man. He loves that shit. He loves that shit.
Couldn't be much more, as we said, chatting about those odds before, couldn't be much more evenly poised going in. It's just the best.
It is so good. I think it's going to be one of the biggest rated Origins we've seen. As it leads more into it, I think that it's going to be absolutely frothing. Alrighty, anything else in regards to game plan? Look, I think kind of know how they're going to play. We've already spoken about it quite a lot. Anything else in regards to New South Wales?
Last thing, I think he will be, but surely Burton's our 18th man. Like, he has to be, right?
Looking at this year, you'd have to.
Yeah, has to.
You'd have to be, yeah. Because you need, you wouldn't be a forward. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that's it. If one of the back line do cop an illegal shot and he gets activated, or 3 HAs, whatever it is, you still want Birdo coming on at centre, not Connor Watson ideally.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If Bradman Best was to be ruled out and you saw Birdo come to left centre, then who'd be your 18th man? What would you do?
Oof.
A lot of dominoes to fall, but
Maybe Suoliti. Wouldn't mind putting him there.
Yeah, I still think just an out and out outside back
outside
cover.
back.
So he probably still does the job.
Who else would be,
Could you put Turbo there?
I don't think so.
I don't think he's physically ready. I don't think so. Yeah, maybe a Suoliti at 18th man. Because he's almost similar to Selwyn Cobbo. You could throw him in the middle if you had to. He's huge.
What about a Teddy?
Nah, I think Suoliti just covers centre, wing, and a bit less of a degree, but fullback really well. Teddy, it's fullback.
Just fullback pretty much. But I mean, Teddy through the middle there for 20 minutes if he had to.
Yeah, it'd be all right,
Be
wouldn't
fucking
it?
pretty good. It'd be similar to Kalen Ponga, really.
Yeah. 4 forward bench, though. We shouldn't need that.
Yeah.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.